On behalf of Proyector team, I welcome you to the 13th edition of this festival of Proyector. One of the many events that we have besides the exhibitions are the curatorial programs by guest curators and also the professional encounters. This year we wanted, on behalf of this idea of continue to building bridges with other regions and other contexts to understand, the art practices and institutions and so on, etc. This year we wanted to focus with, Middle East. So we have a curatorial program which will be shown tomorrow. And then we also had this table entitled Political Amplifier, Listening to the Middle East. We had the first session today at noon, and now this is the last session. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the moderator, Isidro López-Aparicio, which is a Spanish artist, curator, and professor. And he's going to be leading on the entire table. And so thank you all for being here and enjoy.
Hi, everyone who is here and everyone who is on all this screen and listen to us. Thanks to join us in this, and thanks for the organization of Proyector to be brave and keep going on with this festival, even in this weird circumstance with the pandemic. And thanks to all the artists to be connected with us and share all your experience. I would like to begin straight, just sharing with you some sentences that I pick up from some journals and I found them interesting and motivation and some personal things that I would like to share with all of you. And after that, this is going to be very brief, very short, and I will introduce one of you with your name and give you the time for you to share with us whatever you need to talk about a political amplifier and listening to the Middle East. In the subconscious of the Occidental societies, the Middle East is represented by images full of prejudices. In a world driven by these images, constantly portraying cultures from the Middle East as one homogeneous other, and using misleading stereotypes is creating a social distances. It's not a surprise that art being produced in the Middle East challenges these notions, resisting Western definition and adherence to expectations. Contemporary art from the Middle East exposes a vibrant range of dialogues and debates, invigorating the international art world through its meditation and analysis of identify and the human condition in both a local and global context. It's a challenge to rethink our cultural preconceptions. While the work on video art from the Middle East is often a response to local themes in a region undergoing significant change in cultural, economic, and geopolitical fields, it also reveals a new creative perspective on global issues. Work from the Middle East that isn't necessarily all about the Middle East, but rather things everybody or everyone can relate with, such as globalization, gender, sustainability. Difficult to send art from some countries from the Middle East, from Palestine, from Syria, and the video art have become one of the most important ways to see what's going on in art on these regions. The past, present, and future are modeled human and non-human narratives, takes on contest past and uncertain future in which human responsibility is unconditionally scrutinized. This is just to normally we are waiting that all the subjects about Middle East have to be about, all the video art of Middle East have to be about Middle East. But of course, these videos, they go far away from just a narrative of the specific. They really transcend the local to go to the global and to the world. And I would like to listen Soleil Gharbieh. She's a cultural management and part of the team of the Arab Fund for the Arts and Culture. Would you like to share with us your thinkings? Soleil?
Yes, I'm sorry, I was on mute. So, well, it's, I don't know where to start. Of course, the Middle East is not a very homogeneous place. Like, we can't compare countries and say it's all the Middle East. Like, Palestine doesn't have the same context as Egypt, nor as Lebanon, nor as Syria, nor as different countries that all share the same label as Middle East or Arab countries. I work for the Arab Fund for Arts and Culture, which is a funding institution, a granting institution in the region. We cater for all the Arab artists, whether they are based in the Arab region and the Middle East or abroad. And we give grants in different disciplines. Almost we can say we cover all arts disciplines, not only visual arts. And we support individual and institutions, as I don't know if I mentioned. Coming from Lebanon after what happened the past month, I'm sorry, I'm gonna sound a lot pessimistic and not very focused, because what is happening in the country is a lot to digest. It's not only, the crisis is not only about the pandemic, it's not only COVID. Maybe COVID-19 is our least problem nowadays. We are facing a hyperinflation, as they call it. Our currency lost more than 70% of its value, and this is affecting all the artists and the institutions operating in the country. We also had the fourth biggest explosion in the world a month ago, and we had a fire that broke out yesterday, which sent everyone into a serious panic mode, because it took place at the same spot where the explosion happened. I know all the countries represented here, like Palestine and Egypt especially, and other countries in the Middle East. All the countries, every artist and every individual, every citizen suffer. We have, when it comes to arts, our governments and authorities, they don't care. The Ministry of Culture has a minimal budget. Maybe it's not even, I don't know, it's less than 0.2%, as I recall. I'm not sure about the number, from the annual budget of the government. So it's a struggle for artists to sustain their work, even to produce, and for institutions to exist. Well, this is what I have so far about the political context of the different countries in the region.
Okay. Thank you, Soleil. Lara Khaldi, she's a curator and researcher based in Jerusalem and Palestine. Lara, would you mind?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Hello, I'm now today speaking from Amsterdam. I just moved there, but yeah, I've been living in Jerusalem and Ramallah. And yeah, like just hearing Soleil speak, I mean, maybe to yeah, we have a like a term in Arabic, but that was coined by Emil Habibi, It's the name of the title of a novel called The Pesoptimist. So I think we share amongst us this kind of this subjectivity, or this kind of mode of being, where we have because of this ongoing mode of disaster, of ongoing crisis. There's this term called pesoptimism, and it's a mixture between optimism and pessimism, where, when a house is completely ruined by a bomb and half the family is killed with it, you say, yeah, but it could be worse, But what happened in Lebanon just recently is like beyond pesoptimism. This is like a kind of a bleak moment for everyone as well, because you realize that what is worse, what you can imagine, that it could get worse. It gets worse. I mean, in terms of artists and cultural institutions, they have to survive in this kind of course, of environment. So maybe we have that in common in terms of, like what you said about not being. It's okay. So I have my toddler here. He's kind of joining us. So please bear with me. If he gets too noisy, then just tell me. So yeah, we it's true that like the problem of this, like the term of the Middle East is coined, where we are seen as one. Maybe what we have in common, like, is kind of the power struggles and hegemonic structures and oppression, but every context. Well, I mean, two things. Every context, of course, is different, the way it plays out, but also what in return there is that there is struggle. I mean, of course, not only against it, but a struggle to survive. And this struggle to survive is something that I think not only do artists document, but also contribute in thinking about how also one could take these circumstances and through them come up with different forms and ways to kind of to sustain and to still be able to survive. And yeah, just to start to connect it, for example, to the video program that I organized, it's something that I've been thinking a lot about for the last years, but so I in a sense, I want to say that I don't represent anyone. So not Palestinian artists, not Arab artists. It's also this problem of representation is usually but I have a perspective of which I look at things. I like to like if one takes a kind of perspective, an approach, and this kind of a space that I think from or through is the question of the museum. Because it's quite generative, and it's been generating a debate and a discussion not only amongst artists and the cultural field, but amongst the general audiences and people. And this question about what a museum is and what it means, especially in Palestine, in a place where there is no state, right? Where the museum is usually connected to a state and is one of its kind of representative spaces. So how to think about it in this place, and not to reproduce and proliferate not only the form of the museum, but what comes with it as well. So to try to articulate, to find other ways of speaking about memory and history and oppression, because then also how the form of these how the museum could be one tool, right, for an artist, but also storytelling can be another, and how these different forms function. And when you're talking about a collective and a community, how does this play out? So yeah, maybe I stop here and listen to others.
Thank you very much, Lara. Mena El Shazly, she's an artistic director at the Cairo Video Festival, and she is that is organized by the Medrar for Contemporary Art. Would you mind to speak, Mena?
Yes. Almost in 2012 or 2013, I went to Medrar to deliver a USB stick where I had my small video, single channel video, shown in an exhibition there that is called Roznama, and it was maybe my first time to go to Medrar and also meet Allam after I rang the doorbell, and he at some point told me that he would show me around, and so he showed me the exhibition space, the Medrar TV space, the lab space, and the office space, and the balconies. And then at some point he opened this cupboard and showed me a lot of boxes that and I was very intrigued by these boxes because they contained submissions for the Cairo Video Festival, which is a festival for video art and experimental film. And at that time, I was still a student studying visual art, and I was really intrigued by the content of these boxes. I wanted to watch them all, and I wanted to read everything about them. And I think from that moment on, I was really active in Cairo Video Festival and in Medrar. At first, of course, I started working extensively on the archives of the festival, which was also an excuse for me to get to watch all these videos. And then later, I think I was really involved in the organizing of the festival, and which also meant more videos and more video works and more experimental film for me. So I was really learning all the time, I would say, from just watching and just getting to know all these people, since it's an international festival, who work with the medium of the moving image. And it has been a long time now. And I think in this journey, I learned a lot about also video art production in Egypt specifically and in Cairo, especially because my approach was always that I would invite more people to join and invite more collaborators to be part of each edition. And through that, I think I've met many wonderful people who are working in the production of video art in Egypt. And through that, I also learned how sometimes challenging it can be to be producing moving image content here in Egypt. Ever since we have held many production workshops, and this can also resonate with the program that will be shown, I think, tomorrow. That is all content that is produced in these production workshops organized by Medrar. I was also questioning the catalog of each edition that we produce. And I think with time we managed to really turn this book into like a publication with many interesting ideas and concepts about the moving image, and also academic papers that we publish, and more things that can be read in this publication. It's like with each edition, we have a production workshop that's where we produce work, and through it we also encourage a lot of collaboration between artists and video makers. Yeah, I think I can pass it now to Allam to speak more about Midrar, maybe.
Thank you very much. And Mohamed Allam, he's a co-founder and director of the Midrar for Contemporary Art. Mohamed, please.
Yes, yeah. Hello. Thank you all for having me here in this virtual home. My name is Allam. I'm a co-founder of Midrar for Contemporary Art in Cairo, Egypt. And I would like to talk a little bit about the art environment in Egypt and how we established Midrar and what kind of activities and projects we do here. Let's go back through the recent history. Maybe over 2 decades ago, Egypt and the region was experiencing a significant dearth of independent art scene, art spaces and initiatives run by artists, and also especially artists who involved in the experimental visual art practices. On another hand, the lack of academic and the non-academic educational program and opportunities for young and emerging artists resulted in a steady and exclusive art scene in Egypt. Maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, many institutions and initiatives and collectives began to emerge, pushed by the belief in the importance of creating new cultural dialogues and supporting creative approaches to contemporary challenges here. Also, the role of the state and the official institution, like, the governmental institution, like the Ministry of Culture, created a strong competition and sometimes clashes, but the outcome was strong and rich at this time. Then the political transformation in Egypt and the region in 2011 led to a leap in the independent art scene. Now it's totally different because this rapidly growing scene has reached a dead point, actually, which too often threatens to put an end to culture activities. There is many difficulties, and many organizations have been trying to adapt and develop different strategies. And also to find solution for the all kind of situations we have here. I think that kind of activities, including establishing partnerships between local and foreign institutions, and also the exchange between the professional artists and emerging ones. This kind of also generational link has been essential to ensure the continuity. Also the inspiration and the accumulation of knowledge of the local art scene. So I would say Midrar played and still plays a fundamental role in this partnership. I mean, the partnerships we do with many art spaces in Egypt and the region, by collaborating in numerous of artistic events, exhibition, festivals, etc. So originally we established Midrar in 2005 as a collective of students trying to showcase their works, and at this time the available platforms were either exclusive or too institutional. So the collective has established a few programs which essentially promoted the medium of video art and moving images. And actually we started with the Cairo Video Festival. So Cairo Video Festival was the first activity we did at Midrar. So the actual creation of Midrar as an organizational body sparked from the desire to continue the same programs and our projects, and also launch other projects and initiate collaborations and activities. In 2007, Midrar had grown enough to be able to afford a small space. And then in 2012, we moved to the current space in downtown Cairo, which comprises its office space and also the exhibition space, which we designed for visual art exhibitions and hosting screenings and workshops. I think throughout the 15 years, because this year we are celebrating the 15 years anniversary of Midrar, we were be able to establish and run projects. Of course, Cairo Video Festival, one of them, and also Roznama competition and exhibition. It's one of our main projects as well, which is a periodical competition and exhibition for young Egyptian artists under 35 years old. We started Roznama in 2006, and now over its 7 editions, we intend to make Roznama function as an art and culture incubator for artists, to boost their technical capabilities and spread their artworks. And also this competition is founded with the intention of moving beyond the popular and academic perspective in the established arts. So we investigate the new experimental media art practice. Each edition of Roznama, we hire a jury of established professional Egyptian artists and curators to select and provide the exhibition with a high quality artistic value. And each year we support and facilitate the international artist mobility. So we offer many kind of prizes and awards presented by different institutions and individuals in Egypt, such as art residencies, cash prizes, and studio working spaces, material supplies, etc. And now we are working for the upcoming edition next year. We also have many other projects like Roznama Studio program, which is we started this program from the main Roznama exhibition 2 years ago, which is a kind of alternative educational program and studio spaces for a number of artists based in Egypt. And it's almost 1 year program. Artists can participate this kind of program with the other artists invited to make like workshops and working groups and studio visits from artists and also academics. And also we support like a production, there's a production grant, small production grant to offering the artist, the participant, to produce artwork and art project at the end of the program. And by the way, the last edition of Roznama Study Program was supported by AFAC. So I would like to thank AFAC for their all generous support for all art spaces in the region and artists as well. I think that's for now.
Thank you very much.
There's many to say actually.
Okay. I don't know if now there is some intervention in the net that somebody want to make any question, or I would like to highlight, as Soleil say, about that this world is not homogeneous. As you see, all the different interventions have been very different, and you have a highlight different point of view. I think one of the subjects that you have had in common, very interesting, is about education. They were talking about workshop, and they were talking about structures to show the things, and about the education in contemporary art in your regions. How do you found it? Does anybody want to answer? Because the formal education normally is not based on that. How the artists from video art are now getting the knowledge in your regions?
There are many small initiatives that started to see the light, that is initiated by a group of artists who decided to come together and work on programs, alternative programs for visual arts, especially, and maybe digital arts and contemporary art. One of them is the homeworks that is run by Ashkal Alwan in Beirut. Roznama studio program is also another initiative to do something alternative for the artist, not similar to the classical forms that all the students, most of the students in the region do study in the fine arts faculties. So there are some good examples to talk about, not the academic one that you can see in universities, I think, but it all depends. When it comes to the academic education, it will depend on the people, the individuals who teach in different places. For example, I think Lara has an experience in teaching, if I'm not mistaken. And there are some people who try their best to give an insight to students when it comes to formal education. But it's not the curriculum that is set. That's what I think.
What about Palestine?
Yeah, so in Palestine, I mean, it depends on the generation. So there is a generation, like my generation, there weren't any art schools. There was art education in a few universities, but a lot of the artists come from either cinema or architecture, many of them with those backgrounds. But since maybe the last 10 years, there are quite a few programs. So I was teaching in several programs, that all formal, or well, there's a kind of shift now, but so, for example, one is the Media Studies program at Bard College. So Bard College, New York, has an outpost in Jerusalem where they, in collaboration with Al-Quds University, they run a college with some humanities and social sciences. But it's a liberal arts degree, so the students have to take courses in all the programs, which is really great. So my experience there was, because media studies there is basically video art, film, and art, but with critical studies. So there's that program, which has also there are many graduates working in film and video art. But the main, I think, interesting experience in Palestine is the International Palestine Art School, which is now moved into Birzeit University. But this was started about 10 years ago in collaboration with Oslo Art Academy, KIO, and it was independent. But the problem was that there was no official recognition from the Ministry of Education in Palestine, and so the degree was always given from Oslo. And not Palestine. So that was difficult for the students to continue studying or to teach in Palestine. But there it was a very it was in the middle of the city. It was a small program with small participants. The participants didn't have to have also, which was really great, like a degree from, like a finishing degree from high school, and they could be of all ages. So there were like, well-known architects in their 50s, as well as 19-year-olds who just graduated from school. So, and it was a great combination, and there was a lot of learning from each other, and also experimentation, and the relationship between the tutors and the students was not based on a hierarchy, but rather really horizontal. Again, like the curriculums weren't dictated by, like a kind of official curriculum. So that program was a lot of actually video art, like artists who work with the medium of video art came out of that school. But now it has moved to Birzeit University, which is one of the main Palestinian universities, and is now more. It's more difficult to be able to be more flexible with the curriculum, but it's been only 2 years. We don't know what has happened. But the campus is not in the city of Ramallah. It's a bit north in a small town in Birzeit, so it's on a campus on its own. So this link with the city has been lost. I think people have differing opinions about how that, but then now it's officially, of course, recognized from the Ministry of Education. Other small programs like Dar al-Kalima have an arts program as well as a film program. But a lot of artists are also who work with video come out of cinema programs as well. There's a lot of filmmaking in Palestine as well, and I think in the region in general, I mean, filmmaking and cinema has a very long history. And an interesting history, and so a lot of video art is also influenced, I think, by this history of cinema as well. In general, I mean, I see it with video artists from Palestine, like the way they use language in images. Yeah, there's something not only with aesthetics that really has to do with what we grew up watching as well. So the influence is not only the art school, but there's also like the kind of the cinematic image that we all also grew up with, and how we kind of deconstruct it as well, or challenge it and work with it. Yeah.
And as you say, Lara, it's a matter of generation too. Like you were talking about 50s, you know, at that time to have a video camera, it was so difficult. Nowadays, everybody can access easily to make video in high definition and edit, and even young people can have already all the knowledge to work on. And it's very interesting, the work that do non-formal education at as Mohamed say, in his art festival, that they have workshops and all this non-formal education really build a good background, professionality, and at the same time, all the connections so easily nowadays for everybody who work in video art to send their work to every part of the world, you know. But at the same time, from our point of view, it's interesting to know how do you see the censorship for you to build video art or to show video art in your countries? Or how do you feel in this kind of censorship even before doing your artwork? Sometimes you don't need somebody who say, this is not going to be shown. It's just yourself who decide, I don't want to record that or do this video art because I'm going to have problems. Or does the people do that work to be shown in other places out of your region? And that's build some kind of freedom in your country, this possibility. The most of you, for example, Soleil, Lara, Mohamed, all of you have been studying abroad and working abroad, and you have gone out and go back to your countries. You have been in different environments. Do you feel about this kind of censorship? We here, we are feeling that kind of censorship in a lot of spaces. Does anybody want to?
When it comes to video art in Lebanon, we don't feel it much. We don't feel much the censorship imposed on video arts, because it's different than the film festivals and the cinema, where they have to pass everything to the what is it called? To the national security authorities to get permits in order to show the films. I don't think video arts pass these authorities. So you can see in the small festivals that they do, and the small screenings or the exhibitions or in different venues, I can't recall a censorship incident when it comes to video art. And I'd rather not talk about Egypt when Mohamed and Mena are here, so they can talk better about the situation in their country. That's why I remained silent at the beginning.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think in Egypt there's a lot. There's huge censorship and restrictions considering how to express and how to talk and how to create artwork and present it to the public. But since the video art is inside this small bubble of visual art scene, so I think the artist and the community have the sense of how to go around and how to make it not visible for the government or the authorities. So we never faced any problem with the censorship in Madrar, but also we don't take the high risk or the risk to present something that could be problematic, and we have to, unfortunately, think about it and make like to have a good decision, so we don't take the risk for us as Madrar and the people working at Madrar, and also for the artists. Yeah, that's it.
And I would also add that, as like you were saying, it's a very multi-layered issue. So from self-censorship to also finishing the work and then also showing it, and all of this goes through like a lot of steps to make it, to send it out. And I think when it comes to a certain type of censorship, most of the time it also depends if like sometimes I feel when there's an issue so strong in a certain work that can make it critical, for example, to be shown in Egypt, there's always some room to also have a certain audience that can see it somehow. And then so I think with video art it's a little bit easier than with cinema, for example, or than TV material that is on like on television. So there's always some room, I think, in experimental film and video art to deal with certain issues that usually in TV and in cinema it's harder to deal with certain issues. So I think it's, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree with you that the video art gives some kind of freedom to the artist to express much more freedom than in other media, and it does allow that. But it's good that the video art platform that you are building in your spaces are growing up to give more voice to them to show. And just, I think, to end, I would like to know, how do you see the future of the video art in your countries, in your regions? Or how do you see, or how you would like to see? It's like a letter to a letter of desire.
I can maybe speak about the last edition of Cairo Video Festival last year in 2019. We were very eager to think about the limitations and also the expansion of video art and how it can how we can like maybe go out of the exhibition spaces. So we've experimented a lot with first of all programming the selections, the official selection, and then also with showcasing them. So we've done some vitrine displays on the streets of downtown and also the new places in Cairo, where we just had some screens on vitrines, vitrine shops. So we were attracting a completely new audience, and it was, I think, a very important experiment. And we've also shown on in malls and in other spaces that we weren't really, we didn't really know what will happen if we were able to do that, because we were actually thinking about screens and how they have become our natural extension somehow, and how screens how we carry these screens as if they're also part of our bodies. Like for example, I was it's a side thought, but I was also thinking about how in some occasions people on the streets are searched from the police, and then they would also search their phones. And I was thinking about it as since screens are actually an extension of our bodies, that this act is like some sort of a harassment somehow, that how screens can be exposed like that. And we've also experimented in the last edition with online screenings and online showing video art online, and we were hoping that we would be able to also show some video art on billboards and public buses, and I think it's and I think we were also thinking about how we can incorporate text in the edition as also an extension of video art. So we have published a lot of I think 8 texts that 8 different people had as their thesis projects while they were studying in the past 2 years. So just to go back to your question and not be misleading, I was thinking about how screens can actually be everywhere at some point, and how video art can infiltrate this digital world that is now everywhere around us.
Very interesting. Thank you. Anyone want to share your vision of the future? What do you think will happen? What would you like to be happen? For example, Lara, you were talking about museum or institution to have in Palestine to show art.
Yeah. Maybe in general about video art. Maybe to think of it as also in terms of not only a poetic form, but also as a tool. Sometimes when it could work to to generate a relationship with the community or amongst. But in terms of in Palestine, I mean, the question of the museum and because I guess in the program that I put together, it was a question maybe not mainly about video art, but about the museum. So maybe the hope is to be able to think of a form which is not so bound with the nation state, and a form which is places the struggle in the past, although it's ongoing and moving and very much in the present, but rather to think with people how to, because it's still important, of course, to think about how not to commemorate but to keep the memory alive in a sense. So to think together about how is that possible, instead of congealing it into the museum and the state. It's also very, very much related with each other. So I think artists have a big role in this, in thinking about this. Also in a place where there is a kind of lack. I mean, now there's more and more institutionalism, but there is a lack of a national archive and an institution of memory like the museum, to think of other forms, not hegemonic forms, which transform it into a homogeneous narrative and takes advantage of the collective story for a national purpose. I think artists, of course, have a big role to play in this. I guess this is from this perspective that I'm looking at.
Okay. I think we are already arriving to the end, but I don't want, if anybody want to say anything, I don't want to leave before. Okay, in this case, I would like to thank Soleil, Lara, Mena, Mohamed, and the PROYECTOR Video Art Festival to bring us all together. And thank you for sharing with us all these lovely things. The best.
Thank you, Mark.
The best for your countries.
Thank you.